So last season, Chelsea had their worst finish in the Premier League in 20 years. This traumatic season started with a brand new board straight over from the States, preaching about a wondrous 4-4-3 formation. And yet, even with their inexperience, there was an optimism around their arrival. Talk of projects, investment, and a new start got us excited. At the time, our squad was seen as elite, and under the tutelage of one of the most prominent managers in Europe, Thomas Tuchel, who had won the Champions League in the summer of 2021, we were labelled title challengers. And yet, post that incredible night in Porto, there are cracks forming in the squad. Romelu Lukaku departed for Inter after an apparent falling out with Tuchel. Rudiger, Christensen and Alonso left on frees, exposing an immediate need to recruit in defence, and also demonstrating our poor management of player contracts. We signed an incredible number of players, all in all outlaying over £600 million, a transfer record, who were meant to be ready and in their prime, like Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella and Aubameyang, as well as players brought in for the future, like Santos, Datro Fofana and Chukwuemeka. What the board didn't know is that summer of recruitment would cause far more harm than good in the immediate term. By the end of January, we had over 32 players in the first team squad, a new manager in Graham Potter, and more supposed superstar signings that ultimately didn't live up to their expectations. In April, after a 2-0 loss to Aston Villa at home, the project manager in Graham Potter was deemed to be out of his depth and was relieved of his position after just 22 games in charge, leaving us 11th in the league. Even more chaos ensued, with players effectively downing tools, knowing that they'd be sold, and new manager, Chelsea legend Frank Lampard, returning to Stamford Bridge to a club he barely recognised anymore. In June and July 2023, the club offloaded what could be made into a starting 11, shifting over £2 million a week from the wage bill, meaning once again Chelsea enter a summer window of intense importance. One not based on number of bodies brought in, but the quality and potential of those players being paramount. Under the guidance of Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley as co-sporting directors, and an entire new recruitment team underneath them, we've seen the acquisition of Nkunku, Jackson and Moreira so far, with players like Enzo Fernandez, Mudryk and Noni Madueke all joining in January. And that's where it leaves me to come in and review the squad as we have it now and figure out what my 25-man group will be for the first fixture against Liverpool on August the 13th. So let's go through the team position by position, figure out who stays, who goes and who's won more for the future. I think I'm going to build a squad of about 25 players total. And then I've got players that I think are going to leave on loan or be sold permanently. And we'll go through those in terms of position. So first up, let's go through goalkeeper. Okay, so first choice I think is obvious at the moment. It's going to have to be Kepa. Basically, what we've seen at the moment is that we need a ball-playing goalie. That's the way that modern football is going. Kepa is potentially the best option that we really have left. So Kepa's going to get backed by the manager. We know that. We've seen it. He's talked about it. And it seems like he's going to be the first choice going into next season. What that means is that we'll have a ball-playing goalkeeper. Do we trust him with his hands? I'm not sure. Do we trust him with shots outside the box? I'm not sure. The stats aren't necessarily the best for that. And then if you look at the rest of the squad, Bettinelli is our only other real option in goal at the moment. He's, for me, a very clear third choice. I can't see him challenging for a second place. I don't really trust him to go for a second place. And so it's very much for him making up the numbers, being a homegrown player, and I'm sure he'll be happy with it. I really like Selena, and I think he is the right age profile for being involved in and around this squad. I think my biggest worry for him is that he doesn't have the experience at a very high level. He hasn't played any serious football in Europe. And so what I think is the best move for him is to go on loan and experience maybe the Championship or maybe a league elsewhere, maybe France with the partnership with Strasbourg, and to see how he gets on there. And then he can come back and perform in a much better way and feeling a bit more confident with himself. He's not ready to fill that second spot. So what does that mean? We need like a 1.5 goalie, someone that's going to come in and challenge Kepa and actually make a difference. Option number one, Mike Maignan. He plays for AC Milan. He's coming in and they're saying they want about 80 million euros for him. So while I really rate him and I really like him as a goalkeeper, I just think he's basically priced out of a move. Maybe we'll move for him again in the summer next year, but I don't think that's going to be one for this season. I've heard a lot of people talking about De Gea as another option. Free agent, obviously, now that he's left Man United. I'm just so worried about him making another million mistakes that he's made. I've read somewhere that it was sort of over 7 mistakes leading to a goal last season across all competitions. And that's just too many for me to deal with. I think we get on the back of Kepa already, and I'm sure he's making less than that. So for me, De Gea isn't necessarily an option to go with. Martinez at Villa, I really like him. I would love us to put in a bid. I think he can really challenge Kepa and maybe potentially become a number one. He's absolutely smashing it for Villa at the moment. And that's what I'm particularly worried about. Villa are a really good team. They've got a lot of money. They don't need to sell. And so I think he stays at Villa and they have a brilliant season, potentially surprising everyone. And then my last pick is David Raya. I think he's a quality goalkeeper, but is he as good as Kepa? Is he on the same level? I mean, you look at the Spanish squads and he kind of gets in above, Kepa gets in above Raya. So again, I just don't see why we'd spend 40 million euros, and that seems to be the figure that's banded about at the moment for him. So for me, I would leave David Raya. So then I've drawn up two options. I think we've got one option that is a youthful goalie that we have no idea how good he could be, but potentially he can challenge Kepa for his position. And then I've got one steady, safe pair of hands. The goalie that I really like the look of is Mamashvili. He's a Georgian goalkeeper playing for Valencia, 22 years old. He's got brilliant stats in terms of his distribution and shot stopping. He conceded a lot of goals last year, but that was because Valencia were very much at the bottom of the league. So I don't think we can really judge him on his ability from that perspective. I like him a lot, and I think he could come in. He wouldn't break the bank, and I think really we just need to find another option in there for the goalkeeper. Then my wild card is going to be Keylor Navas. We saw him play incredibly well for Forest as he came in last year. They were again right down the bottom, and I think they were really struggling as well. So it's really hard to judge goalkeepers and their performances at a team that are performing so poorly beyond just saves, because ultimately that's what they're going to have to do, and he definitely had to make quite a few of them there at Forest. Especially at the tail end of last season. What I really like about him is that he's got the experience of playing for a massive club in Real Madrid, and he's at PSG at the moment. So he's been there, he's played with egos, and we don't necessarily really have an experienced goalkeeper that can actually improve players. Apparently he did that very well with Henderson at Forest last year, improve young players and actually bring them with him. And I think, having Kepa and Navas competing together could be really, really good. And then if Slonina is still at the club, and if he is in and around the goalkeepers, then again, Navas is kind of the goalie that you want to really have an arm round Slonina and actually really improve. And I think he could learn a lot from him. So those are my two options. I think in the grand scheme of things, we'll go for the youthful one. He fits the age profile of the squad and the plan that the sporting directors are going at the moment. And I think it could be got for a relatively low fee. So that's who I'm going for at the moment. We're going to slap him in, Mamashvili. So those are the three goalkeepers: Kepa, Mamashvili and Bettinelli. That's what we're going for our starting three. And then we're loaning Slonina. So let's move on to left back. This one is a really difficult one because I feel like we've got four pretty good options there, to be honest with you. You've got Chilwell, Maatsen, Cucurella and Hall. So I'm looking at it now and I'm going, who do I want in my starting 11 against Liverpool as my left back? And I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? I think Chilwell has got to be the guy that comes in and plays in that position. Every time he plays, he does absolutely brilliantly. The only real downside to him, and something that we need to be really worried about, is the injuries. But whenever I watch him play, I'm really excited about the way that he gets up and down the wing. He can bomb on, he can score goals even from left back. And with our back four formation, yeah, maybe he's going to be hamstrung this year, but I still think he can make a difference in the final third as well. So Chilwell for me has always got to be the number one pick in the left back slot. So I'm going to whack him straight into the team. And then when you're looking at backups, you've got then three alternatives: Maatsen, Cucurella and Hall. Who do I want as my backup? Well, I'm going for Ian Maatsen. I really like this guy. I think he's a quality player. He obviously did so well for Burnley last year in the Championship. And he's got excellent stats for progressive carries and in passing as well. Albeit that was in the Championship, fair enough, but he was having to play at a really significant level and he made a huge difference to Burnley, I know, but a lot of Burnley fans really rate him very highly. And I feel like he's kind of now got to have his chance in the squad. The problem is Cucurella. How do you solve a problem like Cucurella? He cost us 65 million euros and he's costing us 175 grand a week in wages, which quite frankly is absolutely terrifying to me. It's going to be really difficult then to move him on. I don't know many teams that can afford him, can afford his wages. And what might happen by the end of the summer is that we're going to have to rely on him. We're going to have him within the squad because I just don't know how we're going to be able to offload him, to be honest. So my choice at the moment is to offload him, and I would do that permanently. I'd get rid of him if we could, take a cut price deal and see how we get on with Chilwell and Maatsen. I think Chilwell's got the experience, Maatsen's got the youth, and he can very adequately fill in for Chilwell if he gets injured. So I'm happy with those two. And then Lewis Hall. wow, what a player. I think when he made some mistakes, and there were definitely some touches in certain games that you thought he's made an error, but that's going to happen with a young player, isn't it? And I feel like you're going to have to back him. Part of me is saying keeping him, but also part of me is saying we should give him a loan. And I really think that might actually be really beneficial for him to have a really experienced loan, top end of the Championship, and see how he gets on and builds his confidence coming into next season. So we look at the left back options. I'm going to put them down now. Chilwell, Maatsen, sell Cucurella if we can. It's going to be a big if. So another area we've invested heavily in already is centre back, and I feel that we're actually relatively okay with that position, to be honest with you. What I want to do is I want to keep 5 spots for the centre-back position. Thiago Silva, first name on the team sheet for me, and definitely someone that I would keep in the squad. What a player he has been, what an acquisition he's been. Imagine seeing prime Thiago Silva and prime JT playing in the same team together. That would be like one of the best defenders of all time. I really rate him. I think he's absolutely brilliant. For a 39-year-old, he's kept himself in amazing nick, and whenever I see him play, he's just solid. You feel comfortable when he's at the back, and so for me, he's just like a no-brainer. He goes in the squad and probably in the starting 11 as well. All I would say with him is that we do need to manage him in terms of his game time because of his age. And so having these youthful options to support him is going to be only beneficial. So let's go into those options. Wesley Fofana. He's 22 years old, and I can't quite believe he's still that young. And after a season last year that was sort of hampered by injury, I'm hoping and I'm expecting big things from him. And I think he's going to really push on this year and kind of make a name for himself in the Chelsea back four, and will push Thiago Silva for that starting place, because it's actually really going to be one or the other of them if you think about it on that right hand side. So really looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer. On the left, this is one that gets me so excited as a Chelsea fan. You love to see it when an academy boy comes through, and I'm crossing my fingers, my toes, everything that this boy stays on. It's Levi Colwill. I have no idea if we're going to be able to manage to keep him. He's got interest from everyone, from Liverpool, Spurs, Brighton. I mean, everyone who's anyone is interested in signing this guy. And that's because he's going to be the new England left-sided centre-back. He's going to replace Harry Maguire. Gareth Southgate seems to really, really fancy him. And by the looks of it, he's going to be in the Euro 2024 squad for sure. He's probably going to be pushing for that starting position at left centre-back for England. What you got to love about him is that he's pure class on the ball. He can pick up the ball in defence, he can distribute it forwards, he can run with the ball, he can pass vertically, which is something that we've really lacked for a long time, like a defence splitting ball, a ball that splits the lines. We really, really need that from him. I'm pretty worried about what's going to happen with Levi. But if it was up to me, I would keep him. He's still got some time left on his contract. I'd play him, and I'd do everything I can to convince him to stay. Levi, please stay for us Chelsea fans. And then putting some intense competition for him is Benoit Badiashile. What a player, what a signing he's been. He's never kicked up a fuss. He's a quality addition for us. He wasn't involved in the Champions League squads. Did he mention anything? No. Did he carry on training? Yes. Whenever he played, was he brilliant? Yes. Did he score some great goals for us? He did. So a lot of people are saying he should be in the squads. He should be in the team over even people like Levi Colwill. So what a great problem to have. I love it. I think those two options, Colwill and Badiashile on the left-hand side, is absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to see them two play together. And finally, we've got one more choice to make for my 5 centre-back options. This is a straight shootout, and Pochettino's got a very important decision to make in pre-season. It's whether you keep Ampadu or Chalobah. And I think those two guys are going to fight it out in the games that we have in the States to see who's going to end up staying with us. I'm hearing a lot of rumours about Chalobah going to Italy, for example, and I think he'd be absolutely brilliant there. And Ampadu's just been in Italy on loan, playing for a relegation threatened side, and he seems to always do that, so I feel sorry for the guy. But he's, again, a quality player. If you look at Ampadu, can play in defensive midfield, has represented Wales countless amount of times already, so I back him completely. I really rate him, and I think he's actually underrated in terms of the quality that he has. So he's going to get a really good chance to impress over the next few weeks, and we'll see what happens and see whether Poch fancies him. And then going back to Chalobah, I mean, there was that game, wasn't it, against Palace, that debut goal when he slots it, cuts in from the right-hand side, slots it bottom left-hand corner in the goal. He wheels around, celebrates, almost collapses because he's so excited that he scored a goal, doesn't know what to do. And I just remember being in the ground and just thinking, like, this guy actually cares. And as a Chelsea fan, that's all we really need, really, isn't it? People that actually care about the club. And he certainly does that. When he's dropped down to the floor, doesn't know what to do, you feel that as a fan. And ultimately, that's why I don't really want to sanction him to leave. I would keep him him as my fifth option. He can fill in at right back. I think he was really underrated at right back. I think he's very, very good there as more of like a defensive option. And then you can allow people like Chilwell to go and bomb on, or Maatsen if he's playing. And they can really make a difference at the back. So I think having Chalobah in that position could be really good. Defensive midfield, he can also fill in, and we're quite frankly lacking at the moment in that position. So why not keep him and make a difference? I have a feeling that he's going to go permanently, but I wouldn't be putting him there. So those are our 5 centre-back options: Thiago Silva, Wesley Fofana, Levi Colwill, Benoit Badiashile and Chalobah. What that means for me is that Ampadu has to go. He has to go permanently. I don't think it'd be fair to him to do another loan. And actually, in a weird way, I wouldn't mind if this decision goes either way. I would be happy with Ampadu and I'd be happy with Chalobah. But for me, just the sentimental side of it, seeing him play, seeing the positions that he can do, I think Chalobah is the one that I'd go with. And then you've got Malang Sarr still left. He's still in the building. Don't know how. We signed him on a free. We're going to sell him for good money. So I'm happy for him to go. But what do you think? Who would you choose, Chalobah or Ampadu? Let me know in the comments below. Right back, this one is pretty easy, isn't it, really? You've got the best right back in the world with Reece James, guy that is going to be the vice captain very soon, if not the captain. He's been saying all the right things. His dad's been doing interviews and briefing journalists, briefing us all about how much he loves the club. And I really respect that and I rate it. The thing that I really worry about with him is the injury record. Like, is he going to be able to play all the games of the season? We've already heard that he's got a very minor knee injury. And so for me, I'm just like, do we even play him in pre-season? Let him rest and recover, get him fully up to scratch for the season ahead, and see what my second pick, Malo Gusto, is all about. So Malo Gusto's coming in. He's got a big reputation, hasn't he? Young guy coming in from Lyon. Let's see how well he performs. I think he can be a very good backup. But we all know Reece James is going to be the starting 11. So look, let's not waste no further time on the right backs. This is a really easy one. Let's whack Reece James and Malo Gusto on the board. But before we get into the most important area of the summer, let me just tell you something really quickly. I've started my own clothing brand and it's called Aveste. It's the home of independent streetwear. We've bought over 30 different independent clothing brands in one place, so you can stop searching for clothes. If you do need to pick up any t-shirts, I'd have a look at these 4 options. You've got the oversized tee from Kaizen. You've got the Beach Club tee from Tropicoods in a really nice green colour. Solace's heavyweight logo t-shirt. And you've got the Unadorned collection from Forever Blind. Make sure you check out Aveste in the link in the description below. Your support would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And now let's get into the central midfielders. So this is the key area that we need to improve. We've got Enzo Fernandez, World Cup winner. He is a quality player. Like seeing him pick up the ball in between the centre-backs last season, distributing it vertically, making switch balls. It was just brilliant to see, and he's going to be an immense player for us going forward. I'm so excited we have him. I have to pinch myself sometimes that we've even got him, to be honest with you. And now Caicedo is looking more and more likely. We're thrashing things out with Brian. We haven't made official bids. We're not making a big song and dance of it now. We're just there and we're waiting for the bids, and I feel like we're going to win it very, very soon. It could be upwards of 90 million. That's a lot of money to spend on a defensive midfielder, especially when you spend 100 million on Enzo. What I love about it is that he's very aggressive in the tackle, and he's obviously very good at being a defensive player, but also moving around the pitch, and he can really make a difference for us. So I think those two together are the starting two. So we're going to whack those on. And then the third choice of the players that we've already got, because that's the first people that we should already look at, people that are in the squad already, is Andre Santos. He looks like an immense player. Again, like come out of nowhere. I love these players that the scouting departments are finding at the moment. We didn't really hear a lot about him. We know that he's a Brazilian wonder kid, and God, how can you not love a Brazilian wonder kid? And I think he could come in and make a big difference for us. Now, he's not going to be starting every week, and I don't think he should be. And he's super young, so we need to give him time. We need to give him a chance. He is going to make mistakes. But I feel with the two that we have there, with Enzo and Caicedo, having Santos as a backup is a really good option. I'm really excited for him to be integrated into the squad, and I wouldn't let him go out on loan because I think he's too good. There's still a spot going, so we need to make 2 acquisitions here. Caicedo's one, and we still need to make another one. I feel that there's 2 credible options: Romeo Lavia or Gabri Veiga. They're 2 very different players. The reason why I like Lavia more, and the reason why he's going into my squad, is because I feel that he can make a difference defensively. He looks like he's the stronger player. He looks like he's very composed on the ball, which I really like. That's why I really enjoy players like Kovacic, for example, because he would pick up the ball. He'd be very difficult to dispossess, and we need players like that. I think Veiga is a very good backup option. He's a little bit more attacking, which I don't think we necessarily need at the moment in terms of that player profile. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how much money they need. Hopefully we can get the Lavia done for around 40 million. There's a lot of competition. Liverpool apparently in for him, and they also need a defensive midfield quite desperately. If we can, I would do it. So for me, Lavia goes in there. And yeah, there are other people out on the market. Tchouaméni, great player, playing for Real Madrid. Real Madrid have got about 8 centre mids at the moment, all quality, all vying for that first team place. So congrats to them, to be fair. But I don't think he's realistic. £80 million, we can't spend that amount of money again, as well as Caicedo. So I think that's a bit pie in the sky, and I don't think he's a realistic option right now. And then that leaves us 2 other young players. And I think Chukwuemeka is one. I think he's been really hard done by. Whenever he came on, he looked great and he looked assured. I don't know how well he's going to fit into a 2-man defensive midfield position. So for that reason, I'm going to give him another loan. I'm going to let him go out, apply his trade, impress us all, and come back and be even better. Because I do really believe in him, and I think he has got the ability to really make a difference for us. And then Casadei. What a player again. He's absolutely torn it up in the under-21s tournament. Top goal scorer, I think. So we know that he's absolute quality. He played very well for Reading last year. Let's send him out on another loan, top end of the Championship. I'm hearing Leicester in for him. That's a great move, and one that I would sanction with open arms. Go to Leicester, tear it up in the Championship, and again come back like Chukwuemeka and make a difference next year. So I'm putting those 2 in the loan list. And before you get to me in the comments, where's Conor Gallagher? I haven't forgotten about him. I rate him incredibly highly. I think he's a brilliant player, and by no means am I selling him. I wouldn't dare. So I'm putting him in the centre attacking mid spot, which we're about to get onto next. So on paper at the moment, you'd probably say this is looking quite light, but let me explain why it's not. Nkunku has come into this position and he looks like one of the best players that we have signed in a very long time. And quite frankly, it's a bit of a deal. I think the amount was about 55 to 60 million pounds that we got him for in the end, which for the Bundesliga top goal scorer in the calendar year of 2022, he got 25 goals in that time period. I think that's an absolute steal. We know that the Bundesliga players don't necessarily always work out at Chelsea. Look at Havertz, look at Werner even though I quite liked Werner when he was playing, even though he was offside 24/7. But the stats with him are even better than those 2 players when they were playing in the league. And so you hope that he can come in and make a real difference. And there's a real excitement about Nkunku right now, isn't there? For me, he gets into the team. He is the number 10 that starts for us. And what we might see is that he moves around that front 3, even the front 4, to be fair. He could play up front, which false 9 I'm not sure about. I don't know how much I love false 9s anymore. But we know that he's going to be in the squad. So Nkunku goes in. As I say, Conor Gallagher also up there as well. I feel that he's more of an attacking player now than a defensive midfielder, and I actually feel he's been wasted by Chelsea in that position before. So let him challenge Nkunku for that centre attacking mid. As we say, Nkunku could end up on a wing or up front, and so I think Conor Gallagher can play in that role, disrupt the ball, be very energetic, but he's more than that. He's not just an energetic player, and I feel like people often sort of like downplay his ability. He is a goal scorer. He scored goals for Palace. He's a quality player. And so those 2 in the centre attacking mid, I think, is the way to go. So let's whack those 2 in. Right wing, let's move on to that. Noni Madueke was someone that was brought in by the new sporting directors in January, and what was quite a good deal if you look at it. An English player, super young, very hungry. He's making all the right noises about the club as well. Every time he's interviewed, he's saying something very positive, that he's excited to be here. And as Chelsea fans, we love that, don't we? And what I loved about him when I saw him last season is he picks up the ball, whatever wing he's on, he picks it up and he takes on a man. And we haven't had a lot of players with pace take on a man very often in our squad, and so that's why I'm really excited for him to start more games next season and actually make a real impact on the first team, because I think he's that good. So Noni Madueke is the first one that goes in there. And now we actually need some more options. Hakim Ziyech, he's going to go. It's as simple as that. He's failed about 8 medicals. He's almost left about 6 times. So let's just let him go now. So if we're looking for a replacement right winger, I feel that there's only one real option, and that's Cherki. He has played 83 games in League One already, and he is 19. Last season, he got 5 goals and 10 assists in the league. Bearing in mind, he's, as I say, 19. It's ridiculous. Frank Leboeuf, a Chelsea legend, is saying this guy has got everything. That's the quote. He's got everything. And people are liking his impact to the potential impact that Hazard had on us all the way back in the day. And that's just too tantalising to say no, isn't it? I feel like if we could have another Hazard Mark II, generational player like this, really young. No other team is sort of like really pushing him for him by the sound of it at the moment. We've got to just go for it. And what I like about this is we're going for them really early, whereas if we leave it till next year, we know that there are going to be more teams in for him. And so for me, you've just got to go for it now. And I think Cherki is a fantastic acquisition, and I also think it's relatively achievable from the money. Apparently it's sort of 40 million euros by the sound of it. So if we can get him, we'll get him in. So for me, those are the two that go into right wing. So let's go on to the left wing position. Let's start off with one of the most underrated players in the Chelsea squad. He's much maligned. He gets so much abuse, so much shtick. People don't rate him. They think he's past it. It's Raheem Sterling. He has still got an immense amount of quality. He's one of our most experienced players. He's one of our most capable players in terms of goals, assists, etc. I think he's going to slot in. I think he's going to play a lot for us this season. So for me, Raheem Sterling is one of the first names on the team sheet, and we should get him in the squad now. And now you've got Mykhailo Mudryk. He's the other player that gets in that left wing position. He's bulked up. We've seen that. He's been in the gym. He's been training outside of Cobham. He's been training himself. He obviously cares. He obviously wants to improve, and I love that. And I feel he could be one of those players that really benefits from Pochettino coming in. Pochettino seems to be a man-to-man manager. He'll come in. He'll devise personalised training plans for these particular players. And Mudryk, with the strength training, the confidence that Poch is going to give him, I feel like he's going to have maybe not a breakout season this year, but definitely a season where he's coming off the bench, he starts a few games, he makes an impact with the pace and the guile that he has to knock a ball past someone, beat a man, put crosses in. He is the type of player that we've needed for a very long time, mainly purely from the pace perspective. We really lack that. So I think he's going to have a very good year this year. And I think next season will be even better than this one. So I feel that the competition between those two boys is going to be absolutely brilliant. So let's whack Sterling and Mudryk into the squad. And what that means is there's players like Angerin, Moreira, who's just come in, and Hutchinson that should all be pushing for loan moves. What that then means is, as I say, Ziyech, gone. Hudson-Odoi is going to be sold. And then Pulisic is already out the door to AC Milan. So those three players, in my opinion, will be offloaded as well. And then striker, we haven't really had a proper number 9 since Diego Costa and Didier Drogba. We need that profile of player that's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and is going to be able to beat defenders, has pace to get in behind, can hold up the ball as well. That's what the number 9 is all about. And so we have, luckily, 2 really strong options now. I think both are fairly equal, to be honest, and we're going to have to wait for pre-season to see who comes out on top. We've got 2 options, right? Broja and Jackson. I really like Broja because he is going to make a difference up front and he is going to be able to boss defenders. I mentioned it before, but Ben Mee, there was a game against Brentford that Broja absolutely turned him upside down, and he made a difference in the Champions League when he played. And if it wasn't for this injury that he had, I feel like he could have been the starting number 9 for us the whole season. It was a really unfortunate injury and he's done so well to come back so quickly. He's one of those players that we're going to have to really watch because that injury could come back at any moment, and so he's going to have to be wrapped in cotton wool. Let's see how he gets on in pre-season. If he's fit and ready to go, he might just get into the team for me. Jackson, I'm really excited to see what he's like. He's a bit of an unknown quantity. We don't know if he's going to be able to deal with the physicality of the Premier League, although he looks great in training. And pre-season is key for him. So those 2 boys are going to battle it out in pre-season. We're going to whack them on the board and we'll see how they perform. The £100 million question then is, do we need another striker? There are plenty of options out there. Whether they're achievable or not, I'm not sure. So let's go through them. Ivan Toney. We're not ranking these in order of my preference. I'm just going through the ones that I think could be good for us. We know that he's banned for 6 months. He isn't even going to be available for January. And that's the reason why I wouldn't necessarily bank on him right now. We can see what the lay of the land is in January. You can see how well Broja and Jackson are performing. And if they aren't, then obviously we can go in for someone like a Toney. So I think he's more of a watching brief for now. So the next one, Vlahojevic. He had 12 goal contributions in 27 matches last year in Serie A for Juve. I don't know if that's good enough to make a difference in the Prem. You've always got to be worried about players in the Italian league that don't tear it up and whether they're going to be able to do it in the Premier League, because for me, it's a step up. What I'm worried about is that Juve seem quite happy to let him go, and they're very excited, obviously, to try and get Romelu Lukaku in the door. But do we want a player that Juve are very happy to offload? I'm not sure. And while he's a very good option, for me, I don't know whether I would do it. Again, staying in Italy, Lautaro Martinez, number 9 for Inter. Is he the out-and-out striker that we need at Chelsea? I'm not sure. And, to be honest with you, dealing with Inter is so difficult at the moment, I don't even know if I'd bother. But there's the Argentinian connection. Pochettino obviously likes him. So I think that's one to watch towards the end of the summer. He could be a potential option that we go for. But for me, I wouldn't do it. Osimhen. What a player. Too expensive. I don't think we can get him. So for me, I've just written him off. I think it's too difficult. I think it would be an amazing transfer fee, 150 million euros plus apparently that they're going in for. And I think the wages could be an issue as well. So for me, he doesn't necessarily fit into the structure we have right now, so I wouldn't go for him. And then the final option, Harry Kane. I mean, what a pie in the sky option that would be. He's such a quality player. It looks like Bayern is the potential destination for him. So again, I've written him off. So I wouldn't actually sign anyone this summer, but I would keep that position open because you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the transfer window. Crazy things can happen. Maybe Juve drop their demands and it isn't 21 million euros anymore plus Romelu Lukaku. It's just a straight swap. And in that position, maybe you do take that deal. I'm not sure. But let's see. I'm really interested to see what you think as well. Can you let me know if you're happy with those two strikers or whether you would need someone more? And remember, we've got Nkunku. He could very easily end up being a number 9 for Chelsea. So with that in mind, I'm going to slap Broja and Jackson on the board, and those are the two strikers that I would keep for the start of the season. What that means is Dacho Fofana is already on loan. He's out the door, playing for Union Berlin. What a loan signing that is for them, and I think he will do really, really well. And then obviously Lukaku and Aubameyang, they're out the door. See you later. You won't be missed. Goodbye. And that's it. 25 spots, an average age of 24. Crazy, right? One of our youngest squads ever. So let me know what you think. Would you add any players in there? Have I got any picks wrong? Are there any players that I've missed out for potential transfers? Are there any players that I've slapped in the loan list that you want to see starting for Chelsea? Let me know in the comments below. So if you did like my picks, please do subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world if you did. Thank you so much to everyone that's watched. Really, really appreciate it. This season is going to be a massive one for the channel. I can't wait to talk more about football, more about Chelsea, even maybe some fancy Premier League stuff. So let me know if you want that. And if you haven't watched it already, please watch the video that I filmed with Joey Knight. We talked all about the Chelsea squad, mainly around the transfers, some rogue picks. I'll leave the link in the description below if you want to check that video out. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.